Are you considering moving to the Costa del Sol, but you would rather hear what it's really like from someone who has made that move? Well, soon you will. I'm Chris Cassidy. This is a Nusun Network. We are here in Marbella with Ian McIntosh, who is an ex-client of mine who has made that leap. So Ian, welcome. Welcome. And thanks for coming on and travelling this way from Casares, where you live now. And you were a client of mine who bought here. But tell me and tell the audience a bit about yourself and where you were living and everything before you moved to Spain.
Okay, so I'm originally from just outside Liverpool. I retired a few years ago after the loss of my partner with cancer. And we had a goal of kind of moving abroad, which we were in the process of doing, but we were actually in the process of moving to Italy.
Okay.
We bought a property in Italy. After he died, I kind of realised that that wasn't really my dream. But the big thing, I think, was the weather.
Yeah.
So southern Italy, people don't believe me, but southern Italy is actually as cold as the UK in the winter.
Is that right?
Yeah, so the winters can be quite miserable. And we've got a small kind of rural country house over there. But it's stone built onto the ground, and it's just like a fridge. In the winter it's freezing. There's no double glazing in it or anything, and kind of you have to factor those things in as you get older, don't you? We like a bit of comfort, and
of course.
But I think the weather was the big draw for me for the Costa del Sol. And we came for 5 weeks to look over Christmas and New Year, I think it was.
Yeah. That's right.
A couple of years back. And even then, kind of through December and January, there was more sunshine than there was bad weather.
Yeah.
So that was the thing that convinced us this is where we want to be, really. Yeah.
So the weather.
The southernmost tip of Spain, as far south as we could get in the EU. So yeah, that's why we came.
And what was it you sort of, I mean, obviously you toured around. I remember now, I remember you were saying, Chris, I don't really care where we stay. We'll go an hour away from if we have to. And I remember at the time you were looking at your budget, and you were saying, well, look at the size of this house I can get for the budget. Yeah. And I was trying to say, well, it's a wee bit far out.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, but it looks good. And then you went to it. Yeah. And I remember you viewed completely different properties in loads. I lost count in the amount of properties you actually viewed that time. But tell us about that experience. And what you were seeing at that time.
All that glistens is not gold, is it? We originally thought, my partner's Spanish descent, speaks fluent Spanish, great. We thought we didn't want to be anywhere touristy at all. So I think our original search, the first property we ever saw was out in Fuente de Piedra, which is a good 90 minutes inland from Malaga.
Yep.
And I know you'd made an appointment for us, but we were just eager to get out and have a look. And we also made a point of we wanted to see the area as well. It wasn't just about the house, it was about the area. Being able to kind of have some amenities and feel like we weren't isolated. And we went out to Fuente, and it wasn't all that. It really wasn't. And the house itself, it's really one of the things I would advise anybody to do is not purchase from pictures on the internet.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to work out how I can say it without getting into trouble. But yeah, definitely all that glistens is not gold. So the house looked huge on the internet, and when we got there, it was a tiny townhouse.
Is that right?
Yeah, and the village itself, it was very, very rural. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, there was enough amenities there, but there wasn't enough to, I think in retirement, there just wasn't enough to kind of keep us motivated and moving, and it was just a very small rural, and I think that's the bit once you get away from the coast, it becomes that, doesn't it?
It does. What I mean? It does. The landscape completely changes.
And again, there wasn't, I from what I could see, there wasn't really an expat population there. So like I kind of knew that I would feel quite isolated.
Yeah.
And what would I do with my spare time? You know what I mean? Because I've got a lot of it now, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what the parameters changed quite quickly, I think, with the search, didn't they? And we were looking at We were looking at a lot of different things. We put 2 offers in, didn't we? We
did.
put an offer in on the one that we thought was amazing. And
That was in Ladicasa, was it? I can't remember now.
no, it was at, oh God, what was the one up on the hill?
I remember it. I do remember it, though. I just can't remember it. But I remember it was round about that.
We'll remember the name in
will.
a minute. But yeah, a great property, 2-bedroom or 3, can't remember. I think it was 2.
I think it was 2, that one.
Two, but it was a bank repossession of the actual urbanisation, wasn't it?
Yes.
And yeah, there was problems with the property that we couldn't get past, really, wasn't there?
And I think that's the issue with bank repossessions. I mean, you will get a good price.
Yeah.
But normally there's a reason why it's going for that price.
There's no guarantee that the problems that were there were easily fixed.
Yeah, and
weren't going to cost us a lot of money.
Exactly.
And it was structural issues, wasn't it? It was stuff that was frightening, really. So definitely a great price, kind of. It was stretching our budget, but for the size of the property, and it was the terrace that was the big draw, massive, rooftop terrace.
Yeah.
We backed out, didn't we, in the end, because it was just too scary, really.
That's right.
And then there was another one we loved, but we'd ummed and ahed about it for too long, and he withdrew it.
Yeah.
And then the one we're actually in today, we found 2 days before we left, didn't we?
That's right.
Our offer was accepted on the day we were leaving. It was.
So
yeah, it was 5 weeks of literally running up and down the coast.
Yeah.
From as far as Algeciras, I think.
You travelled around.
Up to Malaga, wasn't it? Yeah.
You travelled around.
And we didn't have a big budget. I think that was the other thing. We didn't have a massive budget to spend.
Exactly.
And there wasn't a lot of choice of properties of any kind of calibre for that price, really.
No.
We were at compared to a lot of people that are buying over here, ours was a small budget.
Yeah, it was.
Because we were being cautious, which I think is a good thing.
Definitely, to get your feet in the ground.
We just had a conversation about me, like now looking at another property, and I've only been here 6 months, but, kind of...
We can dig into that in more detail.
That's what happens,
Yeah.
Life's very different over here. I come from living in an apartment in an old house that's divided into 2 apartments, but all of my neighbours are retired.
Right.
So it's very quiet. You never hear a neighbour. The buildings in the UK are really solidly built. I think mine was built in 1900, something like that. So they're proper brick build. Over here, the walls are like tissue paper, you know what I mean? So you can actually, the amount of stuff you can hear is quite weird. So, I think once you arrive as well, things change. And I think that's what I would say to anybody coming over, is really think about those things and do your research, because even with the amount of research we did, and we did a lot,
Yeah, you did.
It doesn't prepare you for when you come over.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
And I thought it was funny, because I remember at the start when you told me your budget and stuff, I said, and kind of
That's
what you were
tight.
looking. I did, but I said maybe we look at Manilva, Casares, because you don't have to be too far back, but then you were quite adamant about these other houses. I said, okay, let's do that. And then we ended up choosing that destination, which seemed to tick the boxes at that point in time.
I think the thing about a sea view is mad, and people have this kind of thing about, I want a sea view, but for me, in the UK, I live 5 minutes from the beach. Yeah. So I didn't realise how important that was to me. You know, walking the dog, just that kind of being able to go for a walk. That was always a pull for me, because it's just what I was used to.
Yeah, of course.
And I spent a lot of time on the beach in the UK, because we had 2 dogs. Sadly, one of them's gone now, but kind of just walking with the dog every day, you take it for granted and you don't realise. So I don't think that's ever going to go away. I think kind of I always will want some sort of view of some sort, whether it's a mountain view, a sea view.
Something nice you can relax.
And we're spoiled where we are because we've got both, but the things that you kind of are up there for you, they kind of take a bit of a back seat when you come over, don't they?
No, they do. And just in terms of because you're from England, Tony is from
Florida,
right? So there was quite a lot of stuff you had to do.
There was
a lot of hoops you had to go through. But I think it'll be interesting for the audience, because it's we've got people from the States, we've got people from the UK. and both of which aren't in Europe, right? So it's a bit of a double whammy and a bit of a double headache. But can you just talk through that process?
It made things really difficult. And on top of that, my mum got diagnosed with cancer during the process as well. And sadly, she passed away in September. But, you know, that made the process even more difficult for us. I mean, at one stage, it was just for stopping it and kind of, you know, dealing with mum. But yeah, the process was difficult. Not so much for me. The process from the UK is quite straightforward.
Yep.
There's not too many kind of things you have to do, but the process from America is completely different.
Yeah.
America, everything has to be signed off by somebody legal. Apostille, we say in the UK, but I can't remember what it's called in the
equivalent
States.
anyway.
Yeah, in the States. And then Tony was from Florida, so you have to apply through your home state.
Okay.
So for Florida for Tony lived near Orlando, well, an hour and a half away from Orlando. But his nearest BLS office was actually Miami.
Oh, okay.
So Tony had come over to stay with me while all of this was getting sorted, but they changed the rules while he was with me, and they couldn't do it remotely by email. It had to be in person.
Oh.
So once we'd collated everything, we then had to wait for an appointment for him to go back to Florida to hand in.
Yep.
And then come back to the UK and wait for an appointment to go back to Florida.
Right, okay.
To pick his visa up again. So a lot, really. And as I say, the process is way different for somebody from the States. Way different.
Was there something about, I remember you saying about the police checks?
Police checks, yeah.
Obviously, we need to get them anyway from the UK.
Yeah, as the police check in the UK, really straightforward. Everything takes a bit of time.
Yeah.
You know, that you're not going to get away from that. I mean, I think we've spoken about, you know, how long would it take? And I think that's the big thing that everybody kind of wonders about is how long does the process take? Some really deal with it really easily and get it done within 6 months. But our process has taken probably 18 months to get to where we are now. And all I'm waiting for now is my driving licence exchange, which is in, and I'm just waiting on. Poor Tony has had to do his driving again because as a US citizen, there's no recognition of exchange. So they have to do the driving test. But that's all we're waiting on now.
But the good thing for Tony is he speaks Spanish.
He does.
That's a massive thing because it is in Spanish. The theory test is in Spanish.
So although you can take it in English.
Oh, can you? Okay, well that's good to know.
You can take it in English.
That's good to know because I know that from the UK we don't have to do that. They've got an agreement, which is great.
Yeah.
They don't have to
Play
do
an exchange, what we love.
But so he's going to have to do his test again, his theory test.
Yeah. Definitely.
And I remember you saying about was it FBI checks or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, the FBI checks were. That's what caused the biggest wait.
I remember that.
That was. I think it was somewhere between 4 and 6 months for that to come back.
Just to come back. Wow.
Yeah, and that was normal.
Yeah.
And I know at the moment there's been a massive problem over the past few months with Manchester BLS in the UK. Okay. There've been people who've been waiting nearly 6 months for Manchester.
Is that right?
Yeah, once the NLB application has gone in. So for us, ours was 11 weeks from it going in to get them back. But yeah, Tony's process was just a lot longer. I mean, I thought we were ready to apply. I think we'd started the process in January, just before we bought the house. We'd started looking at, and I thought we'd probably be finished at the latest by midsummer. Now, kind of, it was November.
Right. Okay.
Before everything got sorted.
Wow.
So yeah,
big difference.
It was a while.
So a lot of hoops, but hopefully it's been worth it.
Absolutely.
You're here now.
Absolutely.
And you've been here since what was the date you arrived here? Because you were back and forward to come up.
Yeah, 17th of November in the end. Yeah, Mum died in September, and it was just there was a few things to sort out after Mum died, and then I couldn't get away quick enough. Yeah. You know, and I needed that separation. I mean, my partner dying and my mum dying. Yeah. You know, within not a short period of time, but I felt like it was back to back. Yeah. Part of me wanted to get away was escape. Yeah, just cut that tie. There's nothing to keep me in the UK anymore. There just isn't. Mum was the tie, you know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, there's nothing to tie me there anymore.
And how is Tony finding it here?
struggling a little bit, to
Right,
be
okay.
honest. Yeah, it's very different from the States.
Yeah.
I think people think the States, I mean, not at the minute with, our big orange friends, but I think people from the States are quite different to people from the UK. Very different culturally, because he's from a Spanish family
Yeah.
who speak predominantly Spanish, and their views and their beliefs are very different to us as well.
Yeah.
So that's been a bit of a road for us to journey on. But also, the expectation of American people about what Europe's about as well.
Yeah.
So he struggled a bit,
Right.
but he's coming to terms with that. He's homesick as well, kind
Yeah.
of. And I think
It's a big journey.
we all have a little bit of that. It's a massive journey for him. It's not so bad for me because I've been to Spain a few times and obviously to Italy and
People
stuff.
from the UK, it's for us. We've been there on holiday since childhood. We understand what we know what to expect.
Yeah.
And everything else, but I could imagine it being quite a culture, even though he's Spanish and he's in Spain.
Yeah, it's as I say, he's struggling a little bit with it, coming to terms with it bit by bit.
Yep.
But I think kind of because we've had so many things going on as well, every one of these processes takes time, and you kind of while you're waiting for this process to happen, you're stuck in limbo.
Yep.
So we had to apply for the padrón. We had an issue with the padrón, because the house we bought was never registered with the padrón because it was a holiday home.
Yeah.
So we weren't registered with the Ayuntamiento. So that was a drama, and it was spent some time dealing with that, and then you're waiting on your TIE application, and you can't go anywhere while your TIE's in.
Yeah,
you can't go out the country, and nobody really tells you that stuff, do they?
No.
Until you get into it, and you do as much research as you can, but you're like, oh, well, Brits will be okay. Not the case.
No.
So everything's been a process. And we've kind of felt a bit in limbo in between those processes that we can't go and do anything and we can't get anywhere. But as I say, that's all coming to an end now. So hopefully,
excellent.
We can get out and do a bit more. I've started language classes, great. It gets me out of the house and it kind of, I get to go into town on my own and do a bit of stuff in town on my own.
Yep. And mixed with people as well, right?
Yeah. Tony's a real homebody. He doesn't really like going out and doing any of that stuff, but I'm urging him to find some things to do for himself. Because I think it's important. Being retired is really weird. I retired to care for my ex-husband, and then I cared for mum as well. So at that point, I didn't have time to think about being retired. But now that I'm here and retired, I've got an awful lot of time on my spare hands.
And what was it you done before? What did you retire from?
I was a hairdresser.
I heard of it. So
yeah, since I was 16, I am 57. So what's that? 41 years. And I've had the business I had for 25 years.
Wow.
So I had my own salon for 25 years.
But it's a very sociable business.
Very sociable.
And you've been used to
And everyone's like, oh, you'll miss it. Not a jot. Not one single bit. People are great when they're great, and when they're not, they're not. You know what I mean? And sadly, the ones that are not don't make up for the ones that are, you know what I mean?
Of course.
It's difficult being in public service, it really is.
Yeah.
And I loved my job at the time. I did. And I loved the social aspect of it. Do I miss it?
No. But at least now you've still got a little bit of social aspect with your education courses.
Yeah. I like getting out and meeting people. I think that's the thing I like about going to class as well. Yeah. I get to meet a lot of different people, little discussions. There's some language get-togethers we can do. We're off on a couple of trips with them as well.
Oh, fantastic.
We're off to Seville and we're off to Madrid. So, that social aspect is really quite nice. And we'll do more of that stuff, I think.
Yeah.
We just need to find things to occupy us.
Of course.
As oldies, you know what I
mean? and what is your sort of typical day looking like now?
We don't do a lot, which is bloody marvellous.
Yeah.
Get up, I have a long leisurely cup of coffee in bed, which is just unheard of, and it's probably my favourite time of the day. It's just waking up and knowing that I haven't got to rush out to do something, you know what I mean? Long leisurely cup of coffee, get up, sit on the balcony for a couple of hours because the weather's glorious at the moment. And then we've got a thing where we won't book any appointments. I said to you, didn't I? Do not book me an appointment before midday. Not happening, not happening at all. And we stick by that. We do everything in the afternoons because actually that's when it's siesta time and, realistically the roads are quieter. you know.
Yeah.
And then if we have to do anything in the evening, but we're not big ones for going out in the evening anymore. We're not.
No.
But we're only just settling in. I've had one group of friends over that was lovely. You know what I mean? My sister's due over next month. So that'll give us a chance to do that more sociable side then, you know what I mean? Get out into, you know, into Estepona, which I love Estepona. Estepona's,
It's beautiful.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've got the old town there, and they've got
Oh,
the marina.
it's a good mix of everything, and kind of there's none of that. Well, there is tourist stuff there, but it hasn't been taken over by it yet. You know what I mean? Not like when you come up Marbella, Torremolinos,
Yeah.
you know, Benalmádena. It's
More spread out as well.
yeah. So it's still definitely very Spanish.
And they're going to be doing a lot of investment into that port area.
Yeah,
That'll be changing.
I've been watching a couple of your podcasts, and I agree. You know, it's going to end up kind of, you know, along those lines.
Maybe 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of the political stuff, you know, kind of online about the Ayuntamiento and the mayor and other stuff. So, but you can't stop change, and you can't stop things moving forward.
Of course.
People don't like change. You know, it's one of those things, isn't it? Embrace the change, or you're going to be a sad person, aren't you? You know, but I mean, I can see the changes just in the short amount of time we've been there, some of the improvements that are going on, but the locals don't like it because it's not helping their infrastructure.
Of course.
And they're right, you know, all of these things at the minute where they're pushing people out because they can't afford to live.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah,
You know, I really do.
I
And
agree.
you know, I'm on people's side, and there's been a couple of protests, and there was one in Estepona as well, so.
Yeah, and it's funny that because I actually had someone on my podcast talking about he's a builder and he's building sustainable houses, and they're basically pre-built in a factory, and it's wood. They're made of wood, but proper like thick, and they basically come pre-built. They're 50% cheaper to build, and they're built within half the time. You know, and I think from the governments that if they're really all they seem to be doing is trying to penalise people wanting to buy houses, rather than trying to give them houses,
rather than build
houses,
same in the
right?
UK.
And
No
that might be
difference,
an option for them, you know. And it's the same as the UK as well. We see it a lot, but I do think they've got to do a wee bit more themselves rather than just trying to make the British people, for example, the scapegoats, you know.
I think that's why Estepona was a good choice for us, because the prices were better. You know, I think you come up, I mean, I've been looking, again, because we've been looking at another property, we've been looking at prices up and down the coast. You know, the nearer you get to Malaga, particularly Marbella side, you know, the prices are a good chunk more.
Oh, yeah.
And then the further you get away from that, they kind of become, you know, a better price again, you know what I mean?
It definitely bellows out. If you go to Casares and if you go further down to Estepona, sorry, to Manilva, cheaper again. You know, until you go further up, then it gets more expensive, obviously. To Soto Grande, a lot more expensive. But that little sweet spot where you are, Manilva, Caceres.
And then when you go the opposite way, you're looking like Compita, Arques, places like that, you know, that's kind of where it starts to get reasonable again.
Yeah,
you know
again,
what I mean?
it sort of it bellows, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we're seeing that. So you mentioned as well, you sort of touched on it briefly, very briefly, that you're maybe looking for something else.
Oh, yeah.
Talk us through that. So obviously you've been there now for a wee while.
6 months now.
6 months.
And as I say, we'd spent 5 weeks over here looking for the house. We've been over kind of when we got the keys, you know, but you kind of start to get a feel for the place. And I think we touched on it earlier about living on an urbanisation. And you know the things that brings with it, which haven't been difficult. They've just been different to what we're used to. But I think because we're a bit older, we're a bit more stubborn about what we'll put up with and what we won't. And I think you've just got to be flexible. We're in a lucky position where we've got a bit of extra cash where we can move around if we want to, and we can, you know, kind of a lot of people can't. They come here, that's it. That's where they've got, and they can't move from that. We're in a bit of a better position, kind of, you know, with what we've got. So I think we've realised, you know, kind of living on an urbanisation with the builds the way they are, you know, walls being quite thin, neighbours, urbanisation, management, and the dramas that go with that. Yeah.
It's a bit too much.
Yeah, it's not overwhelming, but it's definitely kind of something that's brought a conversation up about us having a house, maybe a little bit further out, but something that's kind of not connected maybe to an urbanisation, so we don't have that to deal
Something
with.
standalone.
No neighbours that are kind of, I mean, I know even if we've got a house on our own, we'll have neighbours around, but, you know, not right on our doorstep. You know, I'd said we'd had our bathroom refurbed, and, you know, there was a few dramas with a couple of the neighbours, even though I'd let all of the neighbours know. I was very proactive about kind of, you know, not falling out with any neighbours. But yeah,
They still complain.
it's not easy. It's not easy living in that close proximity with people, you know.
And I think that's important, because some people have it in their idea, you know, they've got an idea of what they think they want to, where they would like to live. And it's only, but I think you've got to, sometimes you've still got to do that. You've got to experience it, you've got to live in it, get your foot in the door, see if it's still for you, and then your view on things. Because I remember when I first moved here, I wanted to be on the beach. I thought that's what I want to do. I want to have a sea view, I want to walk, go paddle boarding, it'll be fantastic. And for the first 4 months it was, but after a while it was all tourists, constantly tourists. And obviously they're out, they're drinking, they're partying, quite right. That's what they want to do. But for me, trying to live here, work here, and then it was just too much. You know, I got too much after a while. And I thought, you know what, actually it's not for me. So I moved somewhere a bit quieter, a little bit further back. And you tend to find that some people start to move a bit further away, and they want to focus more on the property they're in. Not necessarily that location. Don't get me wrong, it was lovely to be able to walk downstairs and get a coffee and sit and people watch sometimes. But just when I had to work and even just socialising with people, because it was very difficult, because you're talking to somebody and they're only there for a week, or they're there for a couple of days. So you're not really seeing that true person. And it was quite difficult to make friends and real connections.
Well, I think that's you've hit something there about making friends. It's not the easiest thing, really, if you're not out and about socialising all the time.
Exactly.
And like Duquesa Port, there's a big expat population, but it's all built around drinking, and, you know, and it's not me, it's not who we are. Don't get me wrong, I like a drink and I like to socialise like anybody does, but my life doesn't revolve around that. So, you know, kind of finding friends and making friends, if that's not your scene, it can be quite difficult. And I think kind of that's the thing about going to classes, going to do something as a hobby, helps you to do that. You know, and you know, having that ability to communicate with people, where you may have more of a chance of building some sort of friendship as well.
I think so.
And that's the thing, you know, you do miss friends. You know, that's the thing I think you miss about home more than anything, is friends and family. Because you built those relationships over years.
Exactly.
You know, and they're not easy to replace, are they?
No.
So yeah, that's the only difficulty about moving over, but that's the bit you've got to just grab the bull by the horns.
You need to go for it, don't you? I mean, I think, because where I've moved to now, I've moved to Mijas, Calahonda, and it's a bit of a, there is tourists there, right? But there's a lot of people, they're homeowners, might be holiday homeowners, but you do see them regularly, and you can build that connection. Whereas if you're in a proper tourist, it's all tourists. You can't really make friends with a tourist, because they're away back home. They're only there for a fleeting moment, and you're not really getting to know that person. But you sort of make, I think, when you go into other areas where there's a population of people who are living there, or over regularly, then you can start to build that relationship. So I think that, for me, is what I've seen. Whereas at the start, I thought I was just wanting to be on the beach.
That's it. I mean, the beach tour is lovely, you know, don't get me wrong, but, you know, I mean, even kind of, we've been here since November, so we've been through the winter part of the year, and kind of even now, just heading through the end of April and into kind of just early May, the difference in the amount of people in Estepona, you know, is a thing that I've really noticed. You know, it's gone from being 0 tourists or 1 or 2 to now, you know, on the Paseo, it's just rammed with tourists even now, before we get to the busy period. And we've also thought about buying in Estepona itself as well, because we've done the thing about getting older. Do we want to be in a town? But then you move into Estepona and the property prices rocket again.
They do.
And what you can get for your money is, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's one I've looked at, a small townhouse, but a proper in the old town. And it would be nice to be there, but it cuts out having a car again, you know, because you can't find parking. And then the houses aren't really built for people who are getting older, you know what I mean? It's, you know, so there's a lot to think about. And as I say, you know, I think the biggest thing is, you know, take your time, and, you know, if you're going to buy something, just really, really think about what you want, because when you get here, you might be stuck with it.
Yeah.
And, you know, that might not be great. And as I say, we're in a fortunate position where we can afford to kind of, you know, do something again if we want to. But I would really seriously think about what you do, what you don't want, and don't just come over here for a week.
Yeah.
You know, we came for 5 weeks and I still don't think that was enough.
Yeah.
So kind of give us an idea of what we wanted and where we wanted to be. But, you know, it definitely gave us a good insight into kind of life over here.
Exactly. And obviously you've sort of, you guys have been through quite a lot to get to here, to get to this point. You're starting to look at other ideas now based on your experiences here. But is there any like advice that you, if you were to do this all again, is there anything you would have done differently, knowing what you know now? Or do you think that's just what you've got to do to get through it?
It's hard, isn't it? It's hard to kind of work out what you would have done differently. I would never, you know, I'm not one of those people, I don't think like that, you know. I think anything you do is a positive experience and you try and take the positives from it, really. And don't regret anything, you know, it's, but, you know, don't wait would be my biggest one. You know, especially for people my age. You know, God, I mean, you know, this is the bit about me and my departed husband. Is, you know, I've been pushing him for 2 years. He could have retired 2 years before.
Right.
But it was, I'll just do another couple of years, and then the next thing he was gone. You know what I mean? Never got a chance to enjoy any of it. You know, and it's like,
what's the point?
You don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
You really don't. And if you know, if you're 55 and you can take your pension, it might be a bit less. Take it and do what you've got to do with it, because you know. I'm not regretting any of it, and I'm going to spend the next few years just really enjoying my time.
Enjoy it.
And that was part of getting away from the UK, you know what I mean? I don't think it's any easier here. Taxation's different. But the quality of life, I think, is better. Yeah. Definitely.
I think the cost of living's a little bit of, I mean, I see the cost. Well, I go back to the UK quite often, right? And even just going and getting shopping. For food, and they've got the chicken wrapped in plastic. They've got these plastic boxes in, or steaks, you know, and it's all this stuff you see. But the prices, I've noticed a massive price there compared to what I pay here. Even for drink and stuff like that, even for electricity. The electricity costs
I mean, that's the big difference here. You know, water's been our biggest like surprise while we were here. I mean, even though I'm not in the UK at the moment, because we've still got the house in the UK, it's 40 quid a month in the UK. So that's what, 120 quid a quarter. So our bill for a quarter over here is under 20 euros.
Exactly.
You know, electricity it's different. It's not dead cheap, but it's, I'd say, 20% off, 30% off. So it's definitely cheaper. Shopping for us, probably a bit fussy. But shopping's cheaper, probably about 20%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But as I say, blue skies, sunshine every day.
It makes a difference.
300 days a year minimum.
Exactly.
That's what you can.
So even when you said about, you know, even if you're getting a bit less of a pension, it will go further.
It will go further.
It will go further, and you can go out. You don't have, you don't have to plan ahead. Because I remember being in Scotland, and I couldn't. In Glasgow's a bit different. It's a bit rainier, right? And you couldn't just organise. I couldn't say to someone, see in 2 weeks' time, or go get a barbecue and get everyone around. Because sometimes you would do it and then the weather would just change. And you'd be like, oh, for God's sake. But here you can plan ahead. If you make friends, you can bring them along, you know you can do stuff. So just having that, but also, as you mentioned, for me, well, I'm working, but just for me knowing I can go in the evenings, a lovely walk, I can go to the beach, I can sunbathe, I can in the weekends, I can do that. It doesn't cost me anything, it's free.
Well, I'm on social media a lot, and I see a lot of people talking about coming to Spain and leaving the UK who are younger, who are still working. You know, the big thing I see is that they feel like they're in the rat race, and they work 5 days a week, and they kill themselves all year round to just be able to pay for a 2-week holiday every year.
Yeah.
And then they struggle for the rest of the year with money. And are you going to earn any more money over it? I don't think you are.
You
But
won't.
I think your quality of life is better.
Well, and you feel that you're
you may
working
still
for
work
something.
the same amount,
Yeah.
but your weekends, you're in the sunshine.
Exactly.
And it swings and roundabouts. I think it evens itself
You've
out.
got something to work for.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing. You're not just wanting to pay bills and live.
And I think things are getting a bit easier with the visa. They've just started this thing where you can come over and look for work for 12 months, can't you?
Yeah.
So that's made things a bit easier for kind of some people who are younger as well, although I don't think finding jobs here is necessarily easy either.
No.
But yeah, if you can do it, don't think about it. Just
do
dive in and do it. Dive in and do it. It's not an easy process at all, but it's definitely worth it. Yeah.
And see, in terms of the process you followed, obviously you've dealt with different people. Who would you say was the sort of maybe important people to work with in order to get through to where you've got to, just in terms of everything you've had to do, really?
I think for us, kind of having the connection with you was just a massive help. But the biggest one for us was using bureaucracy, yes.
Bureaucracy, yes.
Yeah, was the guidance from those guys. Don't get me wrong, you still have to do the footwork. You've got to collate, you've got to get all of that stuff done yourself. But they collate everything for you.
Right.
They make your appointments for you. So, your appointment for your visa, your initial visa, your appointment for your TIE when you get here, your appointment for your padron, all of that's done for you, and I don't think it was a massive amount of money. I think we worked out it was about €900 each. But I've heard some people saying they're paying thousands for that. Do you know what I mean? But for us, it took a lot of that headache away.
Yeah.
And they were great at advising us what would go on as well, you know what I mean? So that guidance all the way through was really good. And, they were only an email away, and actually we could text them as well, which was great, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was probably the best thing we do. And even now that we're here, when we've got our year 2, 3, they'll guide us through that, and they make the appointments for that as well. Okay, we've got to pay a bit more money for that, but it's just, again,
you've got
it's
that
taking the headache away. I mean, making appointments, I think, from what I've heard, is the biggest problem. I know people are struggling to make appointments for the TIE cards, massively struggling if they're doing it on their own. They're spending like hours and hours and hours just trying to get an appointment for TIE. And yet that was done for us. Great.
Good.
So kind of that for us has been probably the best thing, and we'll continue to use those as we need them.
So speak to me and speak to bureaucracy.
Yes, definitely. Bureaucracy, yes. And as I say, you were really helpful with putting up with my dramatic search of 1,000 properties, really. I'm trying to keep me on track.
I remember it well, and I remember it fondly. And listen, and I'll hopefully I can help you find your next home as well.
Next and last, please.
Next to the last, definitely.
It's got to be perfect.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
I could speak to you all day, Ian. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best, okay?
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers.